You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's The Amazing Race After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's The Amazing Race After Show.
Well, it's a little bittersweet tonight in the AfterBuzz TV studio. This is the finale after show for The Amazing Race Season 24 All-Stars episode, Do You Believe in Magic? I'm your host, James Wallington, and across the table from me are two of my favorite people.
Hey guys, I'm Jessica Carroll.
Hi everybody, I'm Justin Nichols.
And Justin, what did you bring tonight for our little celebration for the finale?
Well, you know, I figured it'd be fun because we've been saying all season long how we play drinking games when we watch the show. Especially some of you had some great ideas of what we should do for a drinking game for our AfterBuzz recap. So I figured, why not just bring alcohol right here to the studio?
We can start our drinking game.
Right? I think it's a pretty good idea, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
And since people were tweeting us and YouTubing messages us, you know, when we should drink, we figured we'll make a drinking game of tonight in celebration of it being the finale.
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it
Let's
too.
do it,
Okay,
right?
so we decided that every time
I mentioned that
how horrible
this
the season
was.
Okay.
every time I mentioned the country girls,
You're gonna be hammered.
that's okay.
Okay.
And every time you mention how many stars we get,
How many ratings or
Ratings.
4.5 ratings we get, I will be drinking.
Yeah.
And that
We
was
just throw
thanks
the
to, that was a
Achilles
viewer's
in there.
suggestion.
right, that was a suggestion from
Oh,
a
on
viewer.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we should throw the Achilles in there. I think
Well,
we
let's
should
just-
just drop an Achilles bomb. It didn't even explode.
Oh, that was
Oh,
so
for those of you guys that are gonna be watching on YouTube, you see that I'm like bracing myself for this like big poo.
You even have a
We
towel.
actually even
I
have
have
a
a
towel.
towel. I wanted it to be bubblies.
So good.
Oh.
All right.
That's what I get for only spending $82 on a bottle of champagne.
I love it.
I think it was like $8.20.
While
Sorry
you're
about you,
pouring, Justin, we should talk about our overall thoughts for the finale of this episode. What did you think,
Oh
Jess?
gosh, we're diving right into the thoughts.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Okay, my overall thoughts was boring. I was bored. I mean, honestly, there was all of the challenges, the detours, the roadblocks. There was no physical challenge, no mental challenge. It was just, okay, let's dig a hole, let's get in a box, and then let's stand in a box and go up. Like, it was so boring.
Totally.
And I don't know, I mean, the taxi thing is just, I was over it.
Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think part of it too is that maybe if we would have loved the whole season throughout, we would have maybe had different, you know, I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, this was amazing. But you're right. The emotions kind of carried over to this final episode. And I feel like we all kind of maybe knew what was going to happen. I mean, it didn't seem to have the intensity that the other finales do. Like when I think of the finale of The Amazing Race, I want it to be suspenseful, still on the edge of my seat. And I'm sorry, watching them screw in, I don't know, like 240, maybe 241
41.
light bulbs is not quite the intensity I was hoping for
Yeah.
for a finale of a show as good as The Amazing Race.
I felt like the producer and the editor had to edit it to keep us like engaged, you know, by, oh, is it going to be Caroline or is it going to be Dave, when we kind of knew. It was more of a show because it was edited in a trying to entertain us.
But it just didn't have any of the elements you need for a finale. Like even going back to that light bulb, when they're like, oh, they're pulling up ahead of us, and then they showed an outside view, and it was comical. Like they're pulling ahead of us as you go 1 mile per hour up the hotel. I'm like, go on! Like this is not a race. You're like, oh, we're gonna catch up.
And
5 minutes later, we're gonna catch up.
Right.
Like, ugh.
And they couldn't control how fast they were going. It was all
Yeah.
There were two words that stuck out to me with your guys' critique. Intensity, I agree. It was lacking that from the very
Yeah.
beginning, and yours was control. I think this whole finale and the circumstances were completely controlled.
Yeah.
And it was out of the team's control. From the moment they got picked up in those SUVs, their driver was in control. But it's it's productions driving, not the teams driving. You also see the taxi cabs. If you watched really closely, I thought it was interesting how every cab driver had some sort of earpiece in their ear, whether it was a Bluetooth or they were wearing headphones. It just seemed a little bit suspicious. If you go back to the earlier seasons of The Amazing Race, what sticks out to me that makes the finale what it is when they are scrambling to find plane tickets. Because a plane ticket to get to that final city is make it or break it or do or die.
Right.
There have been teams in the past that completely miss a crucial flight and they're already out of the running. And it comes down to 2 teams in that final city racing for the $1 million. And that's what makes it intense because it's anyone's game.
Yeah.
It relies on your resources of, okay, I've raced 12 legs now. This is the final one. I'm going to put everything that I've learned or the mistakes that I've made to test this final leg to prove why I'm worth winning $1 million. So I think it definitely lacked the intensity. I think it was completely controlled, which made it really, really boring. It was just everything was out of their control. And I wanted to see them driving through Vegas. I wanted them to get lost on their own because there's so much at stake.
Yeah.
And you didn't see them really going for what was at stake because there was just no intensity. And there's $1 million on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's also important, though, for our viewers and our listeners to also remember, though, we've been really critical this season. And I think it's because we are such passionate fans. But we are passionate about I mean, I really do think the show is great. You know, and it's very easy. No, I know that we all know that. But I think sometimes I want to make sure that everyone else still knows. Though, like, I was disappointed with this finale, but I don't want people to think that I dislike The Amazing Race.
Right.
well,
Like,
you're in luck, though,
I do
because
think it's a great.
everyone was saying that on
Yeah.
social media. Sorry to interrupt. I was just
No,
saying,
yeah,
like,
you're right.
everyone was tweeting us. What we feel is exactly what people on Twitter were tweeting us.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was just more of a letdown and a disappointment
was.
for an all-star season. Going back to what you even said, where was the mental challenge? We
Yeah.
saw last season with Jason and Amy. They had to build a totem pole of the currency or whatever
Right.
for every place they visited on the leg. This is all-stars.
Yeah, and I love when they have a challenge where you have to remember back all of the challenges because, I mean, a lot of these challenges, they're forgettable. Instead of like when we think back to like even last season, I can remember more challenges from last season than this season.
Totally.
But it didn't even. I think we'd have still been kind of like wah on this, even if it was just another normal episode. If it wasn't even the finale, you know what I'm saying? Like you're right.
Yeah.
Where was the looking like tying the bow and like really packaging up that final episode to kind of really end things? You know, where you look back at the different episodes and how that all comes into play, and the final challenges. There was none of that. You're right. It just seemed like another normal leg. However, this time the mat was bigger at the end. You know, I was like, that's kind of how I felt.
And everyone else was there clapping.
The best part was the skydiving, which we'll get to.
Right.
But I think overall, everyone's in agreement with our fans out there and us here on the panel. It wasn't the best season. It was pretty horrible, in my opinion. So let's just have a drink before we
Drink to that. Cheers. And give us even something more to look forward to for the next season, season 25.
Yes, absolutely. So last night, obviously, they're leaving Europe and they're heading to Vegas, which is their final destination for this season. And I loved how at the beginning, though, they kind of recapped all 3 of the teams and kind of showcased what got them to the final.
Yeah.
And I want to point out the country singers because I think they did pretty beautiful job at executing their package, saying, it said with Jennifer's charming persistence, they were able to get so far. But as the competition got tougher and there were fewer teams, they needed more than just charm to win it.
Yeah.
And I think now looking back on the season as a whole and their edit and their story, it makes more sense. And I was pretty hard on them, yes, but hearing Phil say that and having the host and everyone behind them on that level was nice to hear, because I agree.
And also, they did really well for not winning one leg. They didn't win one leg.
Very
I mean,
well.
honestly, I don't think they pretty much are the best team because they didn't win one leg.
They almost won. Like we'll get into that later, but it wasn't even like, oh, they did pretty well. Like
Honestly,
there was a real shot during this episode that they were like, holy moly, they might surprise the world and win this.
There was actually one point in the entire episode where my heart was like kind of getting excited, and that was when I thought I was so proud of my country girls for being in second place.
I really thought they were going to come out of nowhere, too.
Yeah.
There was one point, I think, because they were the first ones to the Mirage. The
Yes.
first ones to get to the light bulb challenge. And I was like, oh my gosh, Caroline and Jen came out of nowhere.
It's that taxi driver.
Yeah. And it really, again, makes it or break it with these taxi drivers. It's all luck. And I wanted to see them. I want them to rely on their own skills to fight for that final finish. But yeah, I think country singers definitely stepped it up, and we hear more about Brenchel's baby. That should be another thing we drink too.
All right, I'll drink
Rachel's
to
baby.
that.
Drink to Rachel's baby. Gosh. Feel sorry for that baby.
Heard that a million times.
And then, of course, drink again. We hear Achilles in the first 5 minutes.
Yes,
I
we
noted.
did.
We're gonna be hammered here in about
Yeah, I need
5
more
minutes
already.
at this rate.
Minutes. So we hear about Achilles' baby and the country singers and then how they stepped it up. They're off to Las Vegas, obviously all in the same flight. Again, boring.
I know.
And then they hop into what kind of vehicle? I don't know if you noticed, Justin.
Imagine this. It was a Ford. Now this time it was a Ford Explorer. They're getting crazy on the Amazing Race.
They're
No longer the
expanding.
Ford Focus, but
Upgrade.
of course we're still like, welcome to the Ford Focus.
They hop into their Ford Explorers, and here we have Dave and Connor. What they left all them at, it doesn't even matter. I'm not even going to read the times they left them at because it doesn't even matter. But they hop in to the Ford Explorers, but they're not the ones driving it. They have a driver, and it was just really weird how they were like, get in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, wait for the dramatics.
I do really bad in awkward situations. I would have just busted out laughing.
Me
Like
too.
I wouldn't have been able to take it seriously. Like, ooh, I'd be like,
Okay.
I don't know if
Okay.
you guys caught on. Maybe I was just so bored already. But what happened with who pushed who? I didn't see it happen.
Okay,
but
they didn't show it, but they
Okay.
It
just
was in the
mentioned
airport,
it
yeah.
in the taxi. How Caroline, I think, was like, "Oh, Rachel was tried to push me out of the way," and so I guess in either security or customs or something, Rachel pushed Caroline out of the way and went in front of her. But okay, it is a race, and I would do that too if I saw them in front of me. I would be like, "Excuse me."
yeah, the final leg, get out of my
Yeah.
way.
Yep. Because every second counts, especially going through customs. You don't want to get stuck behind the wrong people.
And let's be honest, like they're not going to be friends after this.
No.
So it's one of those things where it's like if they were friends on the show, they might be like, oh, I don't know, like this is a true friendship, but there was no love lost on this one. So it's like even if they didn't win, Brenchel, why just shove them because if you win, screw the show because you got $1 million out of it, and if you don't win, you're never gonna see them again anyway.
Well, that's kind of what I think was so interesting about this season is you see two different games being played. You have Dave and Connor and Caroline and Jen completely relying on a friendship to get to the end. And then you have the other mentality, which is Brendan and Rachel, where we're not here to make friends, we're here to win. So it's just interesting that we kind of see both situations really work out to their favor because they all made it to the top with different mentalities on their gameplay.
But the nice people finish first.
This is true. So they get shuttled off into the desert in their little Ford Explorers, and they had to just start digging dirt.
Oh, like.
But they were
this
just
was
told, "Get out and
So
dig."
random. Get out and dig. I mean, okay.
Where? For what? Like,
That challenge was literally pulled out of someone's butt.
but I really though I enjoyed though you could tell they just got off a European flight. They were all bitchy and tired, and it was great. It was
bitchy.
I felt like we were kind of watching when you have little kids in your back seat, and like he crossed the line, like his fingers on my side of the car, like immediately they were like, "Your dirt's in my hole," like throw
what it
your
reminded
dirt
me of?
on your side.
Did you
Get
guys
over
ever
it,
see
children.
the movie Holes?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Where, that's like, I was like, oh my god, I'm watching Holes right now.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah,
little
the
boy?
TV version
Yeah.
of I mean, again, we hear Dave and Connor whining already within the first 10 minutes saying, "Stop throwing dirt in our hole." And then the country singer saying, "The claws are coming out."
They're
and then
playing
Rachel goes,
dirty.
"Shut up, we're not." I mean, if you're having to dig a hole in a close proximity to the other teams, it is strategy to throw your dirt into the other team's holes.
I would have had one teammate of my. I'd have my teammate digging for the clue, and I would have just been taking all the dirt and just dumping it into everyone
would've too.
else's. Screw them.
Are you
I'm
kidding?
sorry. Welcome to the race.
I could smell, if I was in the race, I would have been smelling that $1 million and doing anything. I would have for sure pushed the dirt in
The
there.
claws come out.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
yeah.
dirt in the hole. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So then that's when we hear Rachel say, "What do you want us to do? Be polite."
Right.
And I agree.
But I do like Brenchel's attitude about the race. I don't necessarily like their attitude just on live,
yeah.
but I do like that they're very sensitive when it comes to each other, but it's when it comes to like the tactics of the race, they're not as sensitive as the other teams. And I actually do appreciate that. Like they're always the ones that are like, this is the race, get out of our way, and we don't care how you feel about it.
Right.
Like I do appreciate that. Like they seem to really understand get over it. You're going to be U-turned, or this is going to happen. It's a race. Move on.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has to do with their experience in the reality world. You know, they were on Big Brother originally, then they went to do Amazing Race, and they were on Big Brother again. And so I feel like the more you do it, the more you learn about how to play and manipulate the game to your favor.
Right.
Yeah.
And having emotions involved is one of the most biggest downfalls for anyone who's ever been on a reality show. It's because you can't play with your heart all the time. You have to make moves to get ahead.
And Rachel's just a girl who has tough skin. I mean, I don't think it would be hard to hurt her feelings, I think. And so she just like blows it off and keeps going, which is a great mentality in this race. Yeah. Whereas the country girls, you know, a little shove, they get offended by that.
Yeah.
Drink.
Oh yeah, you mentioned country girl.
I'm like almost out already.
We have a whole bottle, so it's fine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the teams
Fill her
find
up.
the boxes and they are told that they must open the box and bring the contents. And again, Rachel, being the reality queen that she is, was so quick on her feet when she got into that car. She starts digging through the trunk, looking for like objects to help really open and pry open this box. And Dave and Connor and Caroline and Jen were like, what do we do?
We're gonna wait for the instructions.
She's getting this crowbar out of the trunk of this.
But that was funny.
Ford
Honestly,
Explorer.
Brendan's like, what are you doing? And her butt's just like hanging up here. She's like in the trunk trying to find something. I give her props. Like that was being proactive, but it was just funny. And I have to say, I'm really excited that the green sequins made it all the way to the finale.
Oh, it
Phil
did.
was impressed.
Yeah,
Even Phil
there was a
impressed with
lot
those
of sequins going on. A lot. And but I also looked on the box. There was like, it just told you, this is when you're like, oh God moments, because it said property of David Copperfield. And you go, Jesus. God. Here we go. And it was about what I expected, not gonna lie. When so they drive in their cars to I forget maybe is it the Mirage? I don't know.
It was some lot to a hotel or something where they had to do their roadblock. And in this roadblock, I didn't even write down the details of what it was because it just
boring.
It was boring, but it was just there's too many layers to this roadblock. So the gist of it was you got chained up inside a box. And on that strand, there was 50 keys. Only one of them unlocked all of the locks. And then you have to untie yourself and get out. But we never even saw them get out. So I was just like, what? I mean, it's a cool illusion, but I want to know how it happened.
Yeah, and then they randomly just showed up in firefighter, like, outfits.
That was my favorite part. David Copperfield's like, they're trying to be, like, serious. Like, oh, no, I hope they survived. Maybe we should call the fire department.
And
oh my God,
said,
I was just like,
where's my boy? Where's my son?
No one reacted. Like, they all clearly knew they're not going to kill their teammate. So
but I also found it kind of entertaining. I think it's because we also definitely have we understand a lot from the production side as well. And the first thing I wrote down was, wow, big production day. Because it's one of those things where I feel like when they were going through the storyboard of this episode, they were like, this is going to be huge and it's going to be epic on our TV show. You see these aerial shots, which is already very expensive to put on your show, right? And you see there's fires and there's these trucks. It wasn't just the box. Like, this was a huge area for this challenge. And I was like, wow, they are pulling out all the stops budget-wise for this roadblock. And then you saw them do it and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, they spent so much money, I can't imagine, on this challenge as far as the set of it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh. Okay.
And like even like when they were trying to unlock themselves, there wasn't enough of a like push to actually get out of the box fast. I mean, yeah, they were doing the keys and they were in a race, but it was just like they were taking their sweet time, like doing the keys. There was nothing like, I don't know. I was just like,
I just wish we could have seen the execution of the entire illusion.
Yeah.
And I know that for David Copperfield, you don't reveal your secrets, but it's The Amazing Race. It's not David Copperfield.
Right.
So for me, I would like to have seen how it was executed, how they really got out, and what really was the task.
and
at
how they
hand.
randomly got in this costume.
Well, yeah. What was the time frame? Like, was that
Yeah.
20 minutes later that
I
after they
know.
got put in their fire outfit, they came running up? Because they made it seem like these untrained performers that quickly got into their fire outfit and then came running. I'm like, no, I bet there was quite a bit of time when they were like, oh, here I am. Like,
Right.
ugh. But anyway, Connor did great. He finished first. And then it was Rachel and then the country girls.
Yes. And then after they get out of their box and get their next clue, they have to make their way to the Neon Boneyard Museum. And I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know that existed in Vegas.
I didn't know that either.
And I'm like, no, I want to check it out
Yeah.
because it's like a lot of history about the Strip and the different signs from the Strip. But it was just so anticlimactic because the question mark, which is what the clue stated, was
there.
right in front of them.
But Rachel had a tough time
Yeah,
finding
but it wasn't so easy for Brenchel, but
Okay, and also, why couldn't they run?
Oh, yeah. I noticed that too. He's like, no running. And I was
Everyone said that. Like, okay. And the country girls were like, okay, we're going to waddle. I was like, why can't you run?
like,
because it's
the
a
rules are weird.
dark and it's, I don't know, sharp sign. I don't know.
I would have been running. Like, okay, yeah, there might be a no running sign, but not for the freaking Amazing Race.
Right.
Yeah, screw. But then what if you ran? That was considered cheating. Then you had to take a penalty. You felt
I mean, maybe
really
like on the
stupid.
clue or something, did it say no running? I don't.
I didn't pick up on it. There's so many questions about rules that we will get to in the second roadblock, but a lot of things I would like to know answers to. So they're at the Neon Boneyard Museum where they have to search for the next clue, and they're told to look for the red and silver question mark or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have to unscrew a light bulb from it to bring to the Mirage Casino and Hotel. And the country singers, because of their amazing taxi driver, were the first team to show up at the Mirage. And that's when I started to think, oh my gosh, the country singers actually have a shot at winning
That
the
taxi
race.
driver was insane.
Yeah.
But that taxi driver was insane. But Brenchel knew their taxi driver sucked. And
The
he
worst.
He went up to the taxi driver that the country girls had and said, I will give you $25 if you just take us right now. I don't know what kind of taxi driver in Vegas would say, no, I want to wait.
Yeah. But this is where
Two
I think
cute blonde-haired girls. He
this
was
is
like,
when
hell
their cute,
yeah.
charming nature comes into play with their strategy. Is this guy, he's probably single, has two beautiful blondes,
And they're,
he's
of course,
toting
flirting
around.
with him.
Yeah, of course.
It worked to their favor. But I really wanted to see Brenchel pull a Marie and steal that cab. That's
I know.
all I wanted.
I was like, honestly,
Steal the cab.
And clearly they want to win this race so bad. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't just get in and be like, we're not getting out unless you let us in.
But would have been amazing. The producers wouldn't have allowed it. But if the taxi driver would have such loyalty to those girls, he should have said yes, had them get into the cab, and then just go like get lost and be like, this is what
Dump
you
them
get
off somewhere.
for screwing with these two nice girls. I'm gonna
Right?
totally screw you over.
And that's where I felt a little bit of sympathy for Brenchel because they had probably the world's worst taxi driver
Yes.
ever on The Amazing Race in the final leg. Just horrible.
Well, how can
Didn't
you be-
understand
How
how
can
you're a
you-
taxi driver.
How can you be a taxi driver in Vegas and not know where a hotel is on the Strip? Like the Mirage, that you could look up
Yes.
and just see the sign.
Yeah.
Well, it was even too like there'd be a green light and they'd be like, you can go. Like that green means go.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And how many times did they say, we're in a race, we're in a race, can you go fast? I was like,
Although I did almost puke when they kept saying, it's for the baby.
Oh my
It's
God.
for the baby.
Drink, baby.
yeah, seriously. I would have been drunk how many times they said baby.
Baby.
And like, if I was a taxi driver, I'd be like, oh crap, like you're pregnant. Like what baby? I'm gonna go slower now, being nervous. There's some baby on board. You
We
keep
have a
talking
baby.
about it.
But
For
I
the
think
baby.
that's probably why they started to trickle back in the back of the pack for the final three because they were so frantic and so passionate about winning
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
weren't really thinking clearly about what needed to be done because they got to the Mirage and couldn't even find the back entrance. They were
Yeah.
at the front. They were running
No.
through the lobby for a little bit.
And I love it because Rachel was like, oh, don't worry. I used to work at the Mirage. I know where the employee entrance is. And then they couldn't find the clue box and they just decided to search the entire hotel.
Yeah.
When she said that, I was like, girl,
That
that
hotel
would
is-
take hours, okay?
Yeah, when Brendan's like, it's just like it's in the hotel somewhere. I'm like, what?
Yeah, just somewhere in this small hotel.
Just read your clue. That's it. Just read your clue. And I really thought Brenchel was going to have an upper hand on this leg because anyone who knows Big Brother, I was just waiting for Rachel to say, I am Vegas, because she's so passionate about being from Vegas that on Big Brother, she'd always say, I am Vegas.
Right.
She never mentioned it once. And I thought they were going to do better because of her prior
Yeah.
knowledge of the
At
strip.
Vegas, yeah.
And she definitely has mentioned it, you can tell to the racers, because as soon as they read Vegas at the
They knew.
beginning of this trip, like Dave and Connor were like, oh crap.
Right.
Like, they probably didn't say crap because they're Mormon, but they're probably like, oh shoot, she's from Vegas. They're gonna
having an
get it.
advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we move on to the light bulb screwing, we know it's our finale after show, but Justin, what is our star rating?
People we really do mean this in excitement, and now we're gonna start like turning our podcast off because they're like, we get it, Justin. Stop reminding us. But this time, it is more of a thank you.
Yes.
But I checked again, and we were in the top 3 rated shows of this past week as well. We were.
That's because of you guys.
That is true. Oh, wow. And the crowd goes wild. But no, even though it's the last one of this season, trust me, like we still keep track of it, and we want to make sure that we get off to the next season on a strong note. So please, once again, continue to download, rate, subscribe,
and
comment.
Yes.
The whole, you guys know the drill at this point. Like, just thank you for doing it. Keep it up, and share with your friends on YouTube, and let's get those views up, comments up, and you guys have been amazing all season. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We had over 1,000 views on our after show from last week. And I just want to give some shout outs because it is our finale after show. We like to give credit where it's due. Edgar Cardona and Team PH, Konski Hogan, PM Siratin. I'm probably butchering a lot of these, but just know we are very appreciative
We
for
love you
your
guys.
feedback. Sansha Soul Hedgehog 7. We have Mia Carson, Anthony G, Laura D, General 4950, Asike, Libro Nay.
What did you just say?
Asike, Hana Lim 0305. Jeremy Woods has been a loyal fan through and
Yeah.
through. So Jeremy Woods, thank you. You tweet us, you comment, you really are interactive with us and giving your feedback, and we know you are a Brenchels fan, and we think you're probably Brenchels' #1 fan. Lazaro Laguna, Lanebug Mazur, the Wawa Fish. God, there's a lot of creative people on YouTube. DP 224. And Grammy.
I feel like you're just
Grammy
making
Cross.
some of these names up now at this point.
And-
Champagne's getting to me.
I was like, I've been reading these comments, and I don't know if I have seen all of these names, but no. Jessica, of course, Caballero has always been tweeting me. It's super cool.
Yeah.
But that Payam you mentioned earlier, he was the one that tweeted me and that message and said that Drink Game should be Justin talking about the ratings. So
And here we are doing it.
Here we are. You guys threw me into the bus
And of
again.
course, on Twitter, to Connor Wilson, he's always really good at getting back to us and watching our show and really giving us feedback on what we have to say. And last but not least, Heidi Bolero.
Yes.
How could we forget Heidi Bolero? We
She's
love Heidi.
So faithful.
So
Our
faithful
show.
to us. And I hope you are happy with how much we are actually praising Brenchel tonight.
We've done really well.
pretty well.
It's because
yeah.
we're scared of our fans.
And
Because she didn't win. That's why.
my #1, Shannon.
Yep.
I'm sorry that the
You love
server's
her.
down tonight and you can't watch live, but Shannon at Snowmets on Twitter, thank you so much for always watching our after show live.
It makes-
While you eat, Shan, you even got a little jingle out of
I
James.
know.
Whatever's in the champagne, I tell you, you're just making up names. You are singing. Like, this is great, James. Keep it up.
Thanks, I try. So going on to some light bulb screwing.
Okay.
They get to the Mirage and they are told that they have to take the window cleaner thing up to the top and screw in the light bulbs for the letter I on the Mirage sign.
How exciting. Oh, my gosh.
I'd be pulling a Jen. I'd be having a hard time with the heights.
Really?
And to just know that I'm dangling from 2 wires or how many wires we're holding up the window cleaner thing. Woo!
Oh, I'd be all about it. I think that'd be so cool.
Me too. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd be like this. I just wouldn't see down. I'd be like, all right, I'm screwing a light bulb. Don't look down.
Can you smell heights? Like, why are you covering up your nose?
don't look
Just because
down.
I can do this, but if I had this.
Oh. For those that are
dumbest
watching on YouTube right now, you saw James cover up his nose and was like, don't look down. What?
Someone farted. Don't look down.
The show's gone all
Don't
wrong.
look down, don't look down. But Caroline and Jen, first one to the top, they start screwing in their light bulbs. And
Yep.
then out of nowhere, Dave and Connor show up, and they actually, I don't know, they are just good with their hands or something. Just like,
They're good at screwing.
just screwing in those light bulbs like it's no big deal. Anywho.
Wow.
And then
James, you've had some practice, buddy.
And then Brenchel shows up. God knows where they've been. I mean, they were gone for a little.
They've been
a
running to
little
the
while.
hotel looking for their
Running, yeah.
clue.
Hotel.
Oh
But
my gosh.
all of them were dangling up there, but lo and behold, Dave and Connor were the first team to get it right. But they first thought 240, and they did the smart thing rather than recounting by just upping it 1.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would have done.
Yeah.
No, I would have recounted like an idiot.
I mean,
Like,
Actually-
I was actually really impressed when they were like, let's just keep trying. I'm like, I'd have been like, oh,
I know, I
1,
would have too. I would have
2.
been like, okay.
I was so impressed when they did that. Maybe that means, maybe that really puts me down intelligence-wise. But I'm
Like,
just
I
like,
probably
that was
whispered to
so
him and went,
smart.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm just
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm just dissing on this season more and more.
What happens?
So Caroline and Jen, they left second, and then Rachel left third. So we go on to the final roadblock, and this is where it's just like everything just kind of blended together, and I really wish they would have had the challenge where it's putting together the whole race in one challenge.
Yeah.
We didn't
Because
get
it also allows us as viewers to go back and be like, okay, what was
And
this
relive it.
challenge? And oh yeah, I remember that challenge. And so, anyways, but I do love skydiving. It is always
that.
fun.
It was cool.
Especially, I mean, skydiving at night in Vegas over the strip, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Especially the light up uniforms,
Yeah.
flames, and it would have been cool.
And not knowing, everyone at the bottom, not knowing, like looking up and just seeing this black thing falling down and not knowing who it was, that would have been cool too.
Been super cool. Although this is also, we've been so good to Brenchel on today's episode, so I'll end that now. This is where she started being like, this is where I saw, once again, the Rachel that I'm used to seeing, where she just started crying, and she was like, it's just because I want it so bad.
It was like dry tears.
So do the other teams, girl. Like, shut up. Like, everyone wants it that bad. Keep going. Keep hustling. And don't just think because you can cry and you're emotional, like, that deserves you to win this. Like,
Yeah.
that drove me
It was like
crazy.
dry tears. It was like whiny and pouty. It
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
no water coming out of her eyes. But I mean,
I feel-
you said like all the other teams want it too, but we never really heard them. We never really heard them say, "I want this. I want to win." We just, maybe that's because we were so focused on Brenchel saying it over and
Well,
over.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes also Rachel knows that she's great television, and she knows
to milk it.
why she is good television. It's because of those the crying. So I feel like she almost like gets in this point where she's like, I haven't cried in like 4 episodes. That's why everyone loves me. I'm real. So she's like when she needs to.
Yeah. She turned it up way too much.
She turned it up a little high.
I love how she's like, I mean, we're still in this. I just pray that someone messes up.
I know. I was like, oh,
The best thing to pray for. Just dear heaven.
someone just
someone
die
over.
up
Can
there,
someone
okay?
please just
Someone snatch
horribly
it open.
screw up? Thanks. We were doing so well with our Brenchel fans till right then. Sorry.
I mean, they probably were thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's just.
Yeah.
Rachel-
It was
Rachel being
entertaining.
Rachel.
It was
Okay,
television.
Okay, we're over the baby story. Like, come on, girl. I don't think you winning Amazing Race
Drinking.
is going to literally determine if you're having a baby or not.
Which we saw at the pit stop in their interview where they said, well, we're just going to wait till Brandon is done graduating.
Yeah, like,
you
oh.
probably would have waited for him to be done graduating before having a
Anyways.
baby. Anyway.
Yeah.
So the
knows
roadblock,
that
we see
girl?
Dave do it, Caroline, and Rachel. But I love how once Dave and Connor got there, you hear Dave go, "You're going to do it," to Connor first. And this is where there's been a lot of conflict and controversy going on social media because anyone who knows Amazing Race, there was a rule that was, stated into the game at one point where you have to evenly distribute roadblocks, which made the game interesting because, as we were discussing earlier before we went live tonight, the fact that, all right, well, if we're a team on the race, if I'm going to do this puzzle challenge, you might get stuck doing something that you don't feel comfortable with next time. So
Right.
you have to kind of really think ahead about what you might get stuck with that you might not be good at.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't know how Connor got away with doing 8 roadblocks and Dave only doing 5. And then if you look at the statistics as well with Caroline Jen, it's 7 and 6, and then Brenchel is 7 and 6 as well. So
Yeah.
why is theirs different than the other teams?
Yeah,
Because they wanted him for the storyline to land as the oldest person to, I think they wanted that moment. I don't know.
But if had Connor got stuck doing it, it would have been 9 and 4 with the stats.
Wow.
Connor would have done 9 roadblocks, and Dave would have only have done 4. So the numbers.
But
game, I
everyone
don't
who
get
did
it.
the roadblock earlier, it was the other partner who did this one.
Yeah, I think it's probably why it got forced to be Dave.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but still, I mean, I know a lot of people out there were just tweeting it and asking what we thought about it because I think it's a little fishy. I mean, the fact that they didn't even announce that the rule changed. I think if you want to keep fans,
How do
in
we
the
know
loop,
if the rule changed?
I just feel like it had to.
It had to have because
Otherwise,
they
there's no
allowed
way They
it.
would have gotten away with it.
Boy, I love our AfterBuzz fans though because they are so
they know their stats.
they're on it. Like
Yeah.
that's so cool, and it's so much fun to have such educated fans too. Where like they're the ones that point it out. I'm like, you know what? That's a really good point. Like, And the fact that CBS thought they could just slide that one without announcing the rule change. Like,
Right.
the fans are going to know. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
they love the show. They know the rules.
Right.
Explain it.
Yeah.
And that's why, in CBS's defense, because I know people think it's rigged or whatever for Dave and Connor to win. I mean, that's their opinion, but rules are rules. There probably was a rule on this race that said it didn't need to be evenly distributed, but I feel like that was such a pivotal point to a season of the race that set the tone for other seasons. They probably should have informed our race fans that this is the new rule, so anything goes with the roadblocks.
Right.
It doesn't have to be even. So, but it looks like at the roadblock, Dave and Caroline were pretty neck and neck. So they had to go up in this helicopter above the strip, which looked awesome. And they had to find, which I believe was on the ARIA digital board, the thing that said, make your way to the raceway of Vegas.
Yeah.
And that's your landing zone. I loved this whole finish line. This is
I loved it too.
It's different from any season we've seen.
Yeah.
Sin
that
City,
was
of
great.
course.
Sin City.
No.
I was hoping they'd be dressed up in like Elvis outfits. Because isn't there some annual thing where people skydive in Elvis outfits?
Yep.
I thought maybe I've seen it in a movie.
I
Making
didn't
it
know
up.
that, but
Making it up. It's a champagne. It's getting to me. But I loved it. It's never been done before. Skydiving to the pit stop. I thought it was a great way to end an all-star season. It's something different. That's probably the only positive thing I really liked about
same with me.
this episode was it was something new and different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how the teams were reacting below, like, who is that? Who is that falling from there? And then when the flames started happening, they were like,
Ooh.
is that supposed to happen?
Someone just blew up.
But the way the editing made it look was it made Caroline, or it made Jen, or was it Caroline? Caroline. It made Caroline and Dave look neck and neck with the way they are parachuting down. Who is it going to be? And I thought they did a really great at executing that because I didn't even know.
And they said like that at one point it seemed like they were both in the air. Like they said that you could see another skydiver jump after they already seen one jump. So they made it seem like anyway it was truly that close. Whether it really was, who knows?
Yeah.
But
Great editing.
it was a great challenge.
Yeah.
So we see Dave is the one that lands first, and him and Connor run to the finish line. All the teams are hooting and hollering. You see Leo and Jamal run and give them hugs before they even get up on the platform. Again, I'm not surprised that Dave and Connor won. My only critique about this whole thing is any season of The Amazing Race, the finish line has been filled with tears and jumping up and down, and it's exciting to see a team win. Jason and Amy, for instance, when they won last season, they were crying, they were jumping at each other, they were kissing. Like, it was like you wanted to be excited for them.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, and it was genuine, real emotion. I feel like with Dave and Connor, it was more like they expected to win, or they knew that they were going to win, so they kind of already were desensitized to the fact that they were winning. That it was just so boring, and I was like, Connor, you're kind of a robot. Where are your emotions? Dave, I expected you are kind of a crier. I was expecting more of Waterworks than what I saw.
Yeah.
Shocked.
And even when they mentioned, this year, this time last year or whatever, Connor was going through chemo, it was still like, they were talking and sharing the story, but where's the emotion?
It just seemed so not genuine.
No.
At all. And that's what was frustrating for me. Because, if Brenchel had crossed that finish line, there would have been dramatics. It would have been a huge theatrical production of the Brenchel show.
She's good TV.
And that would have been more entertaining than seeing Dave and Connor. I mean, again, I don't want to discredit their win. Well-deserved. Congratulations. I think they, as far as life and real world, they deserve the money because of everything they've gone through. I think if you're looking at a race resume and who was probably consistent on a competition level, I think Brenchel probably deserved to win in that respect.
Yeah.
It just wasn't in the cards for them.
No, but Dave and Connor, they won so many legs back to back.
True. That's true. That's why I don't want to discredit them.
Yeah.
But I just feel like
I think it was well
just
deserved.
so expected. I feel like it was just obvious.
I like it that, he was the oldest, and so like a lot of the older people watching the show now, like, age doesn't matter. And I also like that it was the first parent-child team to win. I liked that.
No.
Well, what you just said goes back to another criticism I had. I felt like the whole finish line was just very preachy and a huge publicity stunt. It was like, oh, you're the oldest person to win, and you're also the first parent-child team to win. Congratulations. It's like a selling point for what this season was all about.
Like breaking history.
It was just like, okay, I feel like it was Dave and Connor's season to win. I don't think anyone else was meant to win this season.
Yeah. They knew all along.
It wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me being really harsh, and I apologize.
It's the champagne.
It's just frustrating because I'm a huge fan, and I just don't feel like it was played out the way it should have.
Fair. No, it was definitely, like I said, I think it's one of the coolest challenges. And then, yeah, once it got to the mat, you were just kind of like, you know, it was still only a 44-minute show, you know, an hour-long show, but it was still just 44 minutes. And then you're right, once it got onto the mat, and the mat was kind of like towards just the last minute or two of the show, where there was just kind of like, you know, Phil just being like, and thanks for watching Amazing Race.
And you
Like,
usually see the teams run up to the mat and they're hugging, and you hear other teams speaking about their experience over the celebration, and you don't even get any of that this season.
It really felt just like another episode. Like, I'm still waiting for one more to come.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting
Honestly, when Caroline landed, she was more excited than Dave and Connor. When she ran up to the mat and hugged them, she showed way more excitement than they did, and they just won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, they deserved it, but
You know, you want your country girls.
Okay, how would you have felt if it was the
Drinking.
country girls?
I would have been shocked, and I would have been like, all right. I
like them, but they don't deserve to win. Don't get mad at me.
No, I'm not.
I loved them, and I'm thrilled that they
That's
made
why I
it to
think
the
I'd be
top three. And I think they deserve to be in the top three because they played it smart. They were friends
But
first, competitors second.
The way they
they-
played the game worked to their favor.
It did.
If
But
they
don't
won,
win.
though, I mean, I couldn't even imagine what people would say.
Uh-huh.
Because they got two non-elimination rounds.
Yeah.
And if they won the race, people would
Flip.
flip. Like, people would honestly probably stop watching Amazing
Producers
Race
would have like tackled them
because
No.
they would have thought the entire
go.
thing was rigged.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad to think of that. Like, even now, people are saying that Dave and Connor were meant to win. So basically, the only team that could have won when people would not be bashing about the Amazing Race is Brunchel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think, you know, for coming in third, I felt like Rachel and Brendan really composed themselves well. They went out with class, and I even text Rachel, I was like, despite all the odds that you had to go through on this final leg with the horrible taxi and whatever else that they didn't show, you guys went out with your heads held high, and you should be proud of the way you played because you're the first team in Amazing Race history to make it to the top three twice.
Yeah.
They've never been eliminated on a mat. They've never heard Phil say, you have been eliminated.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. They made history just as much as Dave and Connor did.
Yeah.
But Dave and Connor have never heard Phil say you've been eliminated either.
Well, they
Because-
self-eliminated.
I mean, yeah, when you, I guess, yeah, that's true. That's true. They weren't eliminated because of things that were in their control,
Yeah.
out of their control.
I don't know.
True.
I'm glad. Here's the thing, though. Overall, I think it was still entertaining characters on the show. We still had lots to talk about and lots of laughs this season. But I'm not going to lie. I think myself, and I'm sure you guys and many of our viewers and listeners out there are thrilled for kind of a reset button.
Yes.
You know, like that was fun. Let's move on to the next season. And I think they're going to go back to old school. Like just like regular participants.
Yeah. Let's dive into news and gossip then about next season,
Yeah.
shall we?
AfterBuzz TV News.
I always wish that was Jason's voice because he's always like, AfterBuzz predictions. So for news and gossip, the only news that I have is that, you know, we've all come to learn that The Amazing Race is now going to be on Friday nights this fall. And I don't know how you feel about that, but we are all in kind of an agreement that it's the end of
Like,
the line maybe
yeah.
for Amazing Race. They're probably trying to kill it off.
Yeah.
It's not the best time slot.
Yeah.
Because there's a saying here in the entertainment industry in LA, if your show goes to Friday night, that's where a show goes to die. So, you know, maybe they'll prove it wrong and they'll...
we don't know that, and the ratings have not dropped, as you said earlier. So who knows? Maybe, you know, the loyal Amazing Race fans will continue, but
Yeah.
to watch on Friday.
What would you guys like to see different if, you know, with The Amazing Race season 25? I mean, 25 seems like a big, iconic number in the series. So
Yeah.
do you think they're going to try and change it up or amp it up a little bit?
I do, a little bit. I mean, I saw a really neat interview with Phil. I think it was through TV Guide. And they were just talking to him. And he can't say it like how we can, but he definitely seemed to have the same views about this past season that we did. And he goes, I really like the All-Stars, of course. But he goes, what makes Amazing Race magic is the having people put in extraordinary circumstances who are not used to this. You could tell Phil was also like, I need to move on to the next season.
Yeah.
His
But he said
excitement wasn't
but
the
he
same.
said in this interview that he's so excited because they're gonna go to all new cities, do all new things, and they have people that, you know, a fresh cast of personalities that we don't know, and we're gonna see people who don't know how to
Be on the race.
play to the crowd. They're not people who know how to play up their personality
Right.
to be invited back on another episode, another season. They're just going to be themselves and lost. And I think it's going to be great television. The Amazing Race that we love.
Yeah, and I also think that's part of the Amazing Race is getting yourself invested in another person's kind of life and story and relationship, where all these people, we already knew that.
Yeah.
So
What do you think, James?
I think it would be fun. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Amazing Race Family Edition. I thought it was
I
cute.
was just gonna
thought it
say
was
that.
something different. I own it on DVD. I would like to see them maybe bring it back and maybe what?
I just picture all these DVDs
So
in your room.
how was the family edition? Like, was it how many?
It was teams of 4, and it was
Okay,
like
4.
they had a father and his son-in-laws, and then they had like a widowed wife and her 3 children. They had a family of 4, like your all-American family.
So if it was like a mother, so let's say someone only had one child. Let's say, would they bring in like another family member?
It could be aunts and it could be
Oh,
like
okay, so
aunt,
yeah.
uncle, mom, and son.
See,
It was
that
just
would
a team
be
of
fun.
4.
Because honestly, family members, they can bicker, and they do bicker,
Yep.
and they bring out, they always get mad or yell at the people they love the most. So
Right.
that would be pretty intense.
And I think the only critique about that season, though, is they didn't go enough to international places, which, I mean, you kind of have to appreciate the race for what it is. It was cool to see American families race through America. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it was just fun because you don't really get to explore America. I think we forget about American tourism,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of fun to see that. But I think if they brought it back, maybe a little bit more international, maybe a little bit older teams rather than having like a 9-year-old, because they had 9-year-olds on the show. I think it'd be interesting to see a team of 3, because there's always going to be one odd man out in decision making, which can make things a little bit dramatic. It might be fun to see them bring back rivals, like a team, someone from your team and someone from my team coming together and being on a team.
That would
having
be cool.
To be forced together. as
No,
a team.
stop bringing back racers.
I'm just saying.
No.
Yeah.
Or
no.
how about they do a really good job at casting and finding like backwoods people, upscale people that have never been outside of the U.S.
Yes.
That have never traveled, have no international experience, no language experience, and so everyone's kind of on this fresh
same.
slate. So their experiences are 100%.
Have
the
they
same.
ever
Perfect.
done where they just cast singles and then they randomly pair them up?
That would be cool, like a personality compatibility.
But like, what if
test.
they did like?
Like no one knows anyone on the race.
But like, honestly, it would be funny if they did like polar opposites. I mean, someone who like lived in the South, and then like a Los Angeles, Beverly Hills girl.
Yeah.
And then they did like some teams that were like identical people. And then they did like that would be kind of
That would
Social
make it a little bit
experiment.
more of a social experiment,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
could make things very interesting.
like do opposites attract, or do the
Ooh.
same people get more like along?
Why
That
don't
could
they
be-
start calling us for these ideas? Come
Right?
on, CBS.
I know.
We
We
are
should travel
working
with the
hard
next
here.
season.
Okay, but I do know, so I really wanted to apply for the Amazing Race with my mom, and I do know that you have to be an American citizen, because I'm not an American
Oh
citizen.
no!
And you and your mom would have been perfect.
My chances
I saw
are
their
down.
audition video. They're so cute.
I know, we even made an audition video, and it was pretty bomb, but I'm so sad. Anyways, maybe we'll get dual citizenship.
Done.
Just for the Amazing Race.
Well, everyone should leave their comments below and let us know what you want to see for Amazing Race season 25, because it's a pretty huge number
Big
for
one.
a series that's been around forever. Are you guys going to be doing any AfterBuzz shows this summer? Where can they find you guys?
Wah, wah, wah. I'm not doing any other shows this summer, but who knows? We're going to still get together, and we'll still tweet you. So if you want to just randomly say hi,
Yeah, please.
do. You can find me at DressJessXO.
And you guys can still find me on all the social media platforms at Justin J. Nichols. And then I am really excited to be back here with Team AfterBuzz for The Amazing Race next
Yes!
season.
Yay, I can't wait. I'm already
25.
counting down the days.
Yes.
You can find me. I'm going to be starting hosting the AfterBuzz show for The Quest. It's a new
Okay.
ABC reality series that's
Ooh.
produced by the same producers of The Amazing Race. So if
Nice.
you like The Amazing Race, check out The Quest, because I'll be one of the hosts on the after show this summer. You can also check me out on the Survivor after show this week. I'm going to be hosting the finale after show, weighing in on Survivor, which I'm another super fan. I'm a nerd about. So make sure you tune into that on Friday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at Mr. James Wally.
Yeah.
And this is so bittersweet.
Okay, he just totally showed us up.
I know. Wow. So James pretty much just lives here at AfterBuzz
All right, and
Studios.
cheers to season 25.
Season to 25, but it was a hell of season 24. And of course, You guys have
Thank
been
you, guys.
fantastic for listening, for watching. It's been so much fun.
Yes.
A true
Great
joy.
Monday nights.
Yes.
And see you guys in the fall on Fridays.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.